A soaring number of people in the UK are falling foul of recruitment scams. Job seekers think they've finally landed a steady job but are never paid and are tricked into handing over cash while being trained to scam other people. One job seeker had been job hunting for a year, only surviving by part-time hours picked up at events. He was homeless and often crashed on friends' couches. From an employer's perspective, he was the perfect candidate. He was desperate, and he didn't ask too many questions. First, the employer said that the applicant needed to pay for an HR qualification, with the promise of reimbursement when the modules were completed. The modules cost around £300 through a third-party training provider, and the work is done from home, calling people to recruit for the same job. These scams aren't new, but as people lost work during the pandemic and recruitment moved online, the trend picked up, and it has accelerated as the cost of living crisis has deepened. The Cyber Helpline, a charity helping victims of cybercrime, has seen a 286% increase in job scams over the last 9 months compared with the whole year before that. Donald Trump has personally pleaded not guilty to 34 felony counts as he appeared in a New York court, becoming the first former U.S. president to face criminal charges. The allegations relate to him falsifying business records in order to conceal damaging information and unlawful activity from American voters before and after the 2016 election. The 76-year-old Republican is accused of using a catch-and-kill scheme to identify, buy, and bury negative information about him and boost his electoral prospects. The grand jury indictment, which has been unsealed, accuses Trump of directing 3 different instances of hush money payments to cover up alleged affairs. Prosecutors call the alleged payments part of a conspiracy to undermine the integrity of the 2016 election. Trump is accused of orchestrating a payment of $130,000 to porn actress Stormy Daniels 12 days before the 2016 presidential election. Trump allegedly made payments to silence Ms. Daniels, real name Stephanie Clifford, and is also accused of being behind a payment of $150,000 to silence ex-Playboy model Karen McDougal. Footage has emerged showing the moment a bomb exploded in a St. Petersburg cafe, killing pro-war blogger Vladlen Tatarsky. The Russian authorities have charged 26-year-old Darya Trepova with terrorism. In a different video released by the Russian authorities on Monday, Ms. Trepova was heard admitting she brought a statuette to the cafe that later blew up, but she did not say she knew there would be an explosion. Pro-Kremlin commenters on social media have suggested that the way Ms. Trepova acted in the run-up to the explosion shows she knew what was going to happen. Ms. Trepova is shown exchanging light-hearted remarks with Mr. Tatarsky and smiles and covers her mouth with her hands. The footage shows the screen immediately then goes black, and an explosion is heard, suggesting it came right after her gesture, but the video was edited at this point and the explosion did not happen immediately after Ms. Trepova covered her mouth. The footage contradicts the Russian narrative that Ms. Trepova exited immediately, showing that she hung around after the blast and then left looking shocked and horrified at what had just happened. The NATO military alliance has just got bigger after their 31st member, Finland, joined the ranks of the International Peace Group. This means NATO's border with Russia has been extended by 1,300 kilometers, and many changes are now expected along that frontier. We can predict with some certainty of the militarization of the Finland-Russia border, like more checkposts, watchtowers, fences, and enhanced borders and aerial overflight. Russia's invasion of Ukraine prompted Finland's application and expands NATO's 1,200 kilometers border with Russia to over 2,500 kilometers. Finland's inclusion in the NATO alliance is a strategic failure for Vladimir Putin. Putin apparently invaded Ukraine over fear of NATO but instead ended up with the expansion of NATO. Finland's addition has led to many memes in social media mocking Putin despite such memes being illegal in Russia. The husband of former ex-First Minister Nicola Sturgeon has been arrested in connection with an investigation into SNP finances. Peter Murrell, 58, is being questioned after being taken into police custody on Wednesday morning. Police Scotland said officers were carrying out searches at a number of addresses as part of the investigation. Mr. Murrell resigned as the party's chief executive last month, a post he had held since 1999. He has been married to Ms. Sturgeon since 2010. A spokesperson for the former First Minister said she had no prior knowledge of Police Scotland's action or intentions. They added, Ms. Sturgeon will fully cooperate with Police Scotland if required. However, at this time no such request has been made. Police inquiries have been underway for 18 months and were triggered when questions were raised about how £600,000 raised for independence had been spent when there was no independence referendum. A nationwide test of the UK's emergency alert service will take place at 3 p.m. on Sunday the 23rd of April. No action needs to be taken in response. The test will coincide with the London Marathon and several Premier League games, but officials said any potential intrusion will be worth it to make sure you recognise what real future alerts would look and sound like. Messages will pop up on mobile phones across the country, along with a sound and vibration that will stop automatically after 10 seconds. People will just need to tap OK or swipe away the notification like any other, with no further action required. The alert will make a sound even if a person's phone is switched to silent or do not disturb, but will not be received if the device is turned off. The government said it would be used in life-threatening emergencies, including extreme weather events like the wildfires and flooding seen last year. An Italian tourist has been killed and 7 other people wounded in a suspected car ramming attack near a beach in Tel Aviv. Italy's foreign minister said Israel had identified the man killed as Italian citizen Alessandro Perini. Local police said the suspected attacker had been shot dead by officers. The attack comes after 2 British-Israeli sisters were killed and their mother injured in a shooting in the occupied West Bank earlier on Friday. Police in Tel Aviv said at 9:25 p.m. local time a 45-year-old man drove a Kia car along the city's beachside boardwalk, mowing down several pedestrians before overturning on the lawn of the Charles Claw Garden. They said a police officer at a nearby petrol station heard the commotion and, after running to the scene, saw the driver of the car trying to reach for what looked like a rifle-like object that was with him, so killed him. The Israeli military has carried out airstrikes on targets belonging to the Palestinian militant group Hamas in the Gaza Strip. The military said the attacks were a response to a barrage of 34 rockets fired from Lebanon into northern Israel on Thursday, which it blamed on Hamas. Militants in Gaza fired dozens more rockets after the strikes began. Tensions are high following 2 nights of Israeli police raids at the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem earlier this week. The raids triggered violent confrontations with Palestinians inside the mosque, which is Islam's third holiest site, and caused anger across the region. Hamas did not say that it fired the rockets from Lebanon, which was the biggest such barrage in 17 years. But its leader Ismail Haniyeh, who was visiting Beirut at the time, said Palestinians would not sit with their arms crossed in the face of Israeli aggression. In response, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu ordered the police and army to mobilize their reserves to bolster counter-terrorism efforts. At least 71 Chinese planes and 9 ships crossed the Taiwan Strait median line on Saturday morning, according to the Taiwan Defense Ministry. The move was a response to the Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen meeting with the Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives in Los Angeles. The CCP issued a warning to Taiwan, which it claims as its own territory. This is a serious warning to the Taiwan Independent Separatist Forces and external forces collusion and provocation. It is a necessary action to defend national sovereignty and territorial integrity, the Chinese Army, Eastern Theater Command said. Taiwan's defense ministry said it monitored 71 Chinese planes and 9 ships crossing the median line at 4 p.m. local time on Saturday. The Taiwanese ministry said China was using this Tsai's U.S. visit as an excuse to carry out military exercises, which has seriously damaged regional peace, stability, and security. Keir Starmer has launched a desperate sleaze campaign against Rishi Sunak, blaming him for the economy and protecting paedophiles. The Labour leader said he makes absolutely zero apologies for the campaign despite it provoking anger within his own party. Senior Labour figures including former Home Secretary Lord David Blunkett called for an advert to be withdrawn, arguing that Labour is better than this gutter politics. Keir said, "I make absolutely zero apologies for being blunt about this. I stand by every word said on the subject, no matter how squeamish it might make some feel." Under Fire Twitter posts highlighted analysis of official data that said that under the Tories, 4,500 adults convicted of sexually assaulting children under 16 served no prison time. But these figures cover the period from 2010 to 2017, 5 years before Mr. Sunak entered Parliament, who did not become Prime Minister until October 2022. Former Shadow Chancellor John McDonnell joined Lord Blunkett in arguing Labour is better than this and calling for the campaign to be axed. Police in Northern Ireland have discovered an IRA bomb plot for Joe Biden's visit to Belfast on Tuesday. According to a report on Sunday in the Belfast Telegraph, members of the Republican paramilitary group, the New IRA, had been seeking to plant a bomb in Derry. The belief is that the new IRA was planning some sort of attack to coincide with Biden's visit, similar to the mortar attack on the police in Sturgeon last November. A Republican source said that Thomas Mellon, the leader of the new IRA, wanted a spectacular way to eclipse Mr. Biden's visit. The new IRA is the continuation of the IRA paramilitary group which disbanded nearly 2 decades ago. Mr. Mellon is on the terror watch list of MI5, the UK counterintelligence agency. In recent weeks, MI5 raised the terrorism threat in Northern Ireland to severe. As yet, the White House has made no comment.